There are a lot of names in WWE that need to either turn heel or simply just get something fresh and new for themselves. That's what we're going to talk about today, is who needs a bit of a refresh, a new coat of paint. And then obviously let me know who's on your list. My name is Matt, welcome to Assemble. Let's get into it with the first name, somebody that seems to be in the rumblings of the news lately. That's Randy Orton. So there is reports out there that the ending to WrestlePalooza main event of Drew versus Cody, apparently, one of the ideas pitched was for Randy Orton to come down and get involved in that match. Not necessarily turning heel right away, but ultimately costing Cody the championship, Drew winning the title to then set up a program, a heel turn eventually of Randy to go up against Cody Rhodes. Personally, I think that would have been a way better ending to WrestlePalooza, way more interesting, but nonetheless, here we are. Randy is the top name on my list of somebody that really could use a shift in character. He wouldn't necessarily need, in my eyes, need to go full just dastardly evil heel, although I love it. Punting everybody, it's great, but I love to see a slow progression of Randy's character. The problem is that the crowd loves him. The crowd loves to chant his song. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just, I think, needs to be thought out, well planned to get to that eventual match. And I think that is one of the big programs for WWE that is untapped, doing Randy versus Cody one-on-one at WrestleMania. And the turn can be a lot like Kevin Owens. It was a gradual thing, and it was more of, we understand where Kevin Owens is coming from. He didn't just wake up and become a bad guy against Cody. It was months and months of this build and telling an interesting story. And an interesting story is exactly what Cody needs. Also, he's going into Crown Jewel against Seth, and once that's over with, well, he's probably going back to his brand, and who's he gonna fight? More Drew McIntyre? Maybe, but he just beat him. Randy is on the top of my list. He needs a change. Imagine Randy, just sidebar, just imagine Randy grabbing that belt, holding that thing up, just being the grizzled, angry veteran with the WWE Championship. I'd love to see it. But something else I'd love to see, another superstar I think is about to get that big push, or a bigger one, and really start to become a babyface. Dom Mysterio. Dom is getting the friction in the clash right now with Finn Balor. They're heating up that storyline once again. Dom is not being so dastardly. He's more on the comedic side, like we saw with him versus AJ Styles. There's so much positive for Dom right now in his character, and I love the evolution of his character. I love that they went from short-haired, smiling all the time, happy to be here Dom Mysterio, tagging with his dad, in evolving the character to what we have today. It feels like they are going to get to a point very quickly where Dom gets cheered more, and if he goes up against Finn Balor and the Judgment Day break and they kick Dom out, that's going to solidify him as a face. Dom is great because with his character work, he can shift between good and bad, I think, over time. If Dom goes on a big face run soon, they got years with him. He'll turn bad again. I just think that a face turn or kind of a tweener is a lot of fun because he can yuck it up on the comedic side like he has, but even more, and giving the fans permission to really get into it with Dom. And the match between Dom and Finn Balor, that's what I want to see. Now the next superstar on Matt's little list here, somebody who just disappeared from television and we need him back. He needs a push again. Odd what's going on. Like, nobody knows. Maybe he's sick, maybe he's injured, maybe WWE is just waiting for creative. Who knows? Jacob Fatu. Where's Jacob? Just nothing. Like, there's nothing for him. The guy was on a roll. The turn and the split between him and Solo was great. The moment at Money in the Bank was great. Him winning the US title, great. Losing the US title, it's fine. It was telling an interesting story. But then as soon as Jimmy got more involved, and then he split off, and then Sammy came to SmackDown, and then Sammy won the US title, that was kind of it. And it was an interesting way they did it, because Sammy wins the US title, he's inserting himself with Jimmy and Jacob. And Jacob was just kind of cool with Sammy the whole time, the character was. And I didn't like that at all, because it didn't make sense for Jacob. Jacob's just like lone wolf, does his own thing, doesn't really trust guys. Why would he be cool with Sami? And then Sami wins the US title and Jacob has nothing to say and nothing to do. Like, they just want them in separate universes at this point. I think that they're making a big mistake with Jacob. I don't know why they've cooled him off, and having him just off TV for so long, even not even cutting promos for anything, it really hurts the guy having so much momentum. SmackDown also feels very thin. I worry that Jacob Fatu comes back and he just starts having random matches, and Solo is still there with his mother effing tees. What, you don't want Jacob getting in this cycle with Solo all the time, but it would only make sense that they constantly run into each other. I honestly think that at some point, maybe post Crown Jewel or Survivor Series, Jacob goes over to Monday Night Raw. You know what would be really cool with him going to Raw, and then maybe you do some trades to SmackDown? If Jacob Fatu just says to Nick Aldis, like, I'm out of here and I'm going to Raw, you could start really ramping up Jacob Fatu in the Intercontinental division, or even teasing into the main event scene and start having the feud with Braun Breaker. What if you brought Jacob over to Raw to try and level things out with Jimmy and Jey and reform the bloodline there with Jacob Fatu involved in all of it? Now, speaking of Jey is somebody that I feel like he's in the middle of this character change. And this is the stuff that I like, where there's conflict, even internal conflict for himself. The character is dealing with stuff every single week. And I like that even on this past week's episode of Raw, we start seeing more of that. He's not helping LA Knight. He's not helping Jimmy. He's turning his back on them. He's frustrated. I like all of that. Not just Jey coming out and yeeting to the crowd all the time and doing the interference at the end. They've done all of that. There's no more of that to tap. So you need more conflict from a character side. Will Jey turn heel? I don't know. I did a whole video on this, cheap plug, but of covering Jey Uso and the potential heel turn if you want to check it out on the channel. But I was talking about in that video how Jey needs to have this slow burn. I think Jey becomes just more of a tweener and looks at elements of Roman Reigns like that's the way to do it. Jey constantly talks about wanting the title. An interesting moment too was on Raw where Cody and Jey are talking. Cody is trying to help Jey out. He's trying to pull him out, get him away from the dark side. There is a little moment, maybe it wasn't on purpose or anything like that, or a tell, but it was interesting that Jey was listening to Cody, and Jey, his head was turned and he's looking at the WWE Championship. Something that Randy Orton also was doing with Cody Rhodes when he was involved with Cody, touching the belt, looking at the title, and then eventually saying, I'm coming for that. Jey could be on that path of turning heel. Full bad guy? Don't know. But it adds more layers, and it is a change that I definitely want to see from him. Next up is somebody who will eventually make a return. We don't know when, but maybe it'll be sooner rather than later. Liv Morgan. Liv's out on injury. The Judgment Day do talk about her almost every single week. They got pictures of Liv up on their wall. They keep her in the story. And there's an eventual story there of Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan. Roxanne firmly in the Judgment Day now. Raquel likes her. Everybody, JD likes her. Finn likes her. And Dom is kind of on the outs. And this is where it can get very interesting. Liv, I could see returning. Depends on the injury. I think Royal Rumble is very obvious for a lot of people. That's usually when they do a lot of big returns. You got a big stadium show. I could see, if she's healthy or almost ready to come back to wrestle, I could see Liv showing up at Survivor Series. Maybe there is a Judgment Day War Games. Don't know. But Judgment Day has a big match at War Games. You could have Liv make the return, not to go into the ring with her return and immediately attack Roxanne. That doesn't necessarily work because Roxanne didn't cause the injury. So you need to just have Liv come back and kind of do her thing. Get in there, help Judgment Day a little bit, but soak it in with the crowd, hug Dom. Then you get to tell the story week after week on TV and begin that clash of Roxanne sliding in there, Liv not liking it, who's the leader, what's Dom's role between everybody, and Finn Balor. But Liv returning, I think you plant the seeds for her being a babyface. Liv, I think when she comes back, there's a really cool story to tell in there, and you could build her up as a giant babyface. Next on my list is a very easy one, split the Street Profits. This is just for Matt selfishly, because I really like the Street Profits, but I'd like to see Montez Ford on his own. And Dawkins, right now, I think would be interesting because they are teasing stuff of the deception or they're not getting along and they play hot and loose with it. Dawkins joining the Wyatts could work. You got Bo Dallas in Dawkins' ear right now. Become a disciple. Just align with them and feel like, yeah, Ford is screwing me over. He's not helping me. Could be kind of interesting. Then you get Dawkins versus Ford. Ford, I'd like to see really break off in his own. We see splashes of this over the years. He was in Elimination Chamber. He was fighting Roman one-on-one on SmackDown that one time. When he's been able to go out there and do his own thing in a singles capacity, I've always been entertained. He's great on the mic. Athletically, it's amazing to watch him. I think there's so much untapped potential there. And it would be interesting for Dawkins to join up with the Wyatts and see what he could do with a different character. Now, speaking of different character, Damian Priest. He's got this thing with Aleister Black right now. I'm all good with it. Just a couple of guys just don't like each other, or they're brawling all the time. And they're just gonna keep escalating this thing. Kind of like what Sheamus does with a lot of his feuds, or like Rusev, and they just keep doing it week after weekend and then it boils. But man, Damian Priest in the last year and a half, it's really kind of shifted, hasn't it? The guy has gone from World Heavyweight Champion, cashing in Money in the Bank, having some really good matches with Gunther, and he teamed up with Rhea Ripley a bunch, and then he goes to SmackDown, and he has a thing with Drew McIntyre. Fine. The match at WrestleMania was fun, but now he's with Aleister Black and R-Truth. I don't know what you do with Damian Priest, but I feel like it's somebody that he needs a change. I'm not saying go back to Monday Night Raw. There's nothing over there, but maybe it is just more of he's getting frustrated. Does he turn heel? Do you just give him a little bit more to work with? Try to change the character up a little bit more. I don't know what he needs, but it's something. Now, another return. Somebody that shows up once in a while and then they're gone again, and I think they're still recovering from injury. Bianca Belair. Eventually, Bianca needs to come back, hopefully for WrestleMania season, and get into a program with maybe Jade and finish that story, or shift things and maybe it's Bianca versus Rhea for the title. But I'd love for Bianca to come back. I know she's supremely over, but Bianca coming back as a bad guy is something we haven't seen since the days of NXT with her, and it's something I would love for them to try. She doesn't have to team up with the Street Profits. She can do her own thing, but a really bitter Bianca Belair, but with the ego and feeling like she is the absolute superstar at the very top and just starts dominating. And maybe it does take somebody like a Rhea Ripley to bring her down a notch. The triple threat at Mania was awesome, and I'd love to see Rhea and Bianca finally have that one-on-one. So the way for me to do it, I would just say, you gotta turn Bianca heel in order to get there. Give me Alpha Academy. Give me Otis and Tozawa. I know they're on the comedic side, but so are New Day. And they are great as an underdog team. I particularly am just thinking of Otis because he's so good. And when they were pushing Otis, remember when he was going through the whole thing with Chad Gable? Otis got big pops. Otis got over. And it was great to see. Even Tozawa getting great reactions because of Chad Gable. You already know you're going to get Alpha Academy and New Day as great on the comedic side. But with New Day being just like really silly heels now, Otis and Tozawa are a great counter to that. And it'd be fun to see them just get in there trying to get the tag team titles. So they're on my list of people that you need to bring on TV a little bit more. All right, we got 2 more names on this list, everybody. Next up, Tiffany Stratton. Tiffany has not, it hasn't been Tiffy time for me for a while. Going off of WrestleMania against Charlotte, we know what happened during that build, and then we had the match, and everything was fine, and Tiffany went over, and since then, it's been fine to good. Nothing has really stood out for me with this chapter of Tiffany's title run. I think she needs a change. I think she needs to lose the belt. And I'd love for Tiffany to go being a heel again because I think she's just better suited. She can put on really good matches. And I think she's found a good, comfortable spot as a babyface, but there's no stories in there. Just having challenges with Jade, Nia, those combinations over and over again. It's getting very repetitive. Wouldn't it be cool if Tiffany just went bad, lost the title, went bad? Maybe she got traded over to Raw. Then you get Tiffany dealing with Io and Asuka and Rhea. Something new and different. That's what I would want to see. So I think Tiffany needs to really drop this belt sooner rather than later, just so that it even just gets her to chase. Even if they want to keep her a babyface, Tiffany trying to chase to get back to the title is more interesting than what she's doing now, just holding on to it. And the final name on my list, and I don't think this person's going to get anything changed with them turning bad or really having anything with their character evolve too much, but I had to put them on the list because something I think needs to be done. Roman Reigns. I love Roman. I love the tribal chief. But because he's so infrequent on TV and they only have a few dates with him every single year, it's very difficult, obviously, to have a character shift, to change him at all in any large capacity. Roman being a big diabolical heel doesn't fit him anymore. He's hit this kind of flow, this state with Roman Reigns' character that we know what to expect, we know how he is, we know what the promos are like. I wish that something would happen more with Roman. He keeps getting destroyed by the Vision. I like it if Roman was, I don't know, not feeling as confident because he keeps getting beat. But he does win the matches. So even though he gets the big beatdowns and written off TV, he's got no like crisis of confidence. He's got no concerns. I feel like just Roman needs something. And maybe we'll see it once WrestleMania season comes around and he gets put into a program with whoever, Braun Breaker, anybody. And we'll see what happens there. But I hope that we see a little bit of a shift in Roman's character just to make it more compelling. But what's on your list? Who needs a change? Who needs a push? And who needs to just show up on TV? I'd love for you guys to let me know. And if you guys want to talk more WWE topics, click this video right here and have a great day. See ya.